This is Qwynn and you're watching National Geographic.
Hello and welcome back to another installment of National Geographic. Today we are going to be talking about the ancient culture of Colendia, which is now modern-day Russia. We're going to be talking about the rise and fall of this beautiful country, as well as their government, social structure, and other cultural traditions. First off, we are going to be out exploring the mountains. Now that we're in the forest, we are going to be showing some of the traditional outfits that were worn during these times. Women wore their hair in a ponytail or a bun. Wearing your hair down was forbidden and insulting to the gods. Traditional outfits of the time were long white gowns with long sleeves and a head covering to cover the hair. This is the traditional outfit that queens of that time would have worn. It's the same dress as what was worn by the citizens. However, it did have some changes. It had a cape, a headscarf, and notice the necklace that was made from a very rare stone that was only worn by royalty. That was an important part of Colendia culture that we will discuss later. Their government was ruled by a queen.
Yoo-hoo, porridge!
They didn't have a lot of men in this country, mostly
Porridge.
women.
Porridge.
In other countries, men had more
Porridge.
rights than women.
Do I have to get my porridge myself?
But they were against that, so they were ruled by a queen.
Porridge!
Now we're going to discuss the social structure. On top was the queen. Under the queen was the councils. Next, we had the philosophers. Next, they were followed by men, women, and children. Lastly, there were the slaves. They had several different traditional foods. Mostly they ate fish, grains, nuts, and vegetables. A delicacy was porridge at that time. This is a replica of the housing that they lived in. They would gather sticks and large branches until they formed a large vegetation roof. This would keep everything dry and safe inside the house. They had many nearby water sources. These traditional hooks were used for fishing. When they were no longer used for fishing, they were then used for sewing traditional blankets.
Here was one of the many traditional blankets.
They traded with many countries, but the number one country was the Mongols. They were friends until they became enemies. One of their many traditions was when the crops started to grow, they had a traditional dance, ceremony, and festival. Oats were a vital part of making porridge, which was a traditional food at the time. They taught the children how to make this traditional food, as well as how to make blankets. Another tradition was Coronation Day. When the queen's firstborn child turned 20 years old, she was then given the royal necklace.
Now this necklace is 2,000 years old and was made from one of the rarest rocks in Russia at the time. There was only one time in history where it was stolen and the whole city went in a crisis. But the necklace was retrieved and they threw the person who stole it into the icy river.
Religion. They believed in one god named Boreas. He was the god of ice and winter. They would sacrifice people into the icy rivers. Mostly this was slaves or rule breakers. Allies and enemies. The Mongols were friends until a war broke out after the Colendia's men killed a Mongol tribe leader while he was caught stealing crops. These Mongols then went back and formed a large army and defeated Colendia and erased them forever.
Thank you for watching National Geographic, and here's a cute cat.
Ellie, Kiki. Look.
Oh.
She looks right like.
And now the best part, the bloopers.
Good afternoon and welcome to our next installment of National Geographic. Today we're going to be talking about Colendia, which was an ancient tribe that is now in Lastly, there was the slaves. Gotta go get my tea. One of their timeless traditions was their religion. They believed in one god, Boreas, the god of ice and winter. However, they did sacrifice people into the icy rivers. Usually this was only slaves. One. Culture. Traditionally, they would do... Oh, Lord.